Hello everyone, my name is Faith Okike and I am a 400 level student of the Department of Psychology, University of Lagos, and I'm elated and honored to be taking you through this module on how to correctly source for academic publications. Now, as students of the Department of Psychology in the University of Lagos, you constantly be in situations where you have to cite scholarly publications in your assignments, reports, systematic reviews, term papers, and eventually your final year project. So the information we'll be sharing in this video is pretty key to your studentship. Now let's dive in. We'll be talking about two things in this video. First, databases, and second, the use of keywords. Let's talk about databases. Now, when we're talking about databases in terms of research, it's simply a pool or collection of academic publications. Academic publications are simply research work done by others and published so that others can use those research publications as a basis of reference for their own research work. So a database is usually a collection of a wide range of publications. Even you as a final year student, when you're done with your research, with your final year project, you can publish it on one of these databases for other people to use too. So, if you're conversant with searching for papers online, you'd have come across a paper that has asked you to either buy or access through an institution. A good news is that the University of Lagos is now one of such institutions through which you can access a paper such as that. The University of Lagos has subscriptions to some databases, some wonderful databases, I must say. To be sure of what databases the University of Lagos is subscribed to, simply check the UNILAG Library website for it. You'll see it under subscribed databases. Now, now that you know that there are databases that the University of Lagos is subscribed to, how do you now access these papers? Now, when you see such a paper, just click on access through institution, and then it will take you to a page where you'll be asked to input the name of your institution, which is University of Lagos. Then it takes you to the next page where it asks for your institutional mail. Now that's where some of us get stuck. But simply, your institutional mail is that your personalized school email that has your matric number at live.unilag.edu.ng. The same one you use to log into Unilag Wi-Fi. So when you input that, it takes you through a verification process to verify if you're truly a student of the University of Lagos. And after through those very simple to follow steps, you'll be able to access the paper easy and good. Now, having said that, let's now move on to the next phase of discussion, which is the use of keywords. Now you know that a database has a lot of publications in it, a lot of academic research work done and published. How do you now search such a wide um, database for publications that you can use for your own research work, for what you are interested in working on? Now we'll be talking about use of keyword, like a single keyword, combined keywords, and the use of and or. Now let's talk about the use of single keywords. Now, your keywords are simply your research variables, whether your independent variables or your dependent variables, and sometimes for some very sensitive research, your population. For instance, HIV patients. For instance, if you're working on um, the influence of parental support on self-esteem of adolescents living with HIV, you would see that your keyword would be HIV patients in order to bring a one of your keywords, rather not the only one, would be HIV patient in order to bring you publications that have been published on HIV patients, right? We know that we have to do a lot of operational definition, citing, reviewing literature, and talking about your variables while working on a particular research. So let's first talk about the use of single keyword. Now, I've said that your keyword is usually your research variable, your IV, your DV, and sometimes your population. Now, to search a database, for instance, like PubMed Central, yeah, that database is a database I recommend using because it has it's in short, I love using it. I prefer to use it compared to Google Scholar. And no, they did not pay me for advertisement. Just that it has a variety of medicine related um, journals, publications, and a psychology student who are very close to medicine line. So um, when you enter the website of PubMed Central, and let's adopt a topic for this phase of our discussion. Let's say the influence of father's absenteeism and socioeconomic status on self-efficacy among females in the Department of Psychology. Now, you could maybe you want to first work on your introduction. You want to introduce the concept of father's absenteeism, the concept of socioeconomic status on self-efficacy, because you're supposed to link all of them together, like in your introduction, background of the study. So you just impute father's absenteeism. It will bring up a wide range of results of publications that have father's absenteeism as a variable in them. Many of you would have seen in certain research work that after their abstract, they have there's a certain place they will just write keywords, and you mostly see that the keywords are their IVs, DVs, and their population. So when you put that father absenteeism, all those papers that have such keywords of father absenteeism would pop up. Same thing if you put socioeconomic status, and same thing if you put self-efficacy. All the publications that have those variables would come up. So you can use them in your operational definition. Your You can even use them to find your statement of problems and a lot of other things. Now, let's now talk about combining these keywords. That is okay beyond just father's absenteeism. You want to look at papers, you want to look for papers that worked on both father's absenteeism and self-efficacy, or socioeconomic status and self-efficacy, or father's absenteeism, socioeconomic status, and self-efficacy. This phase of our discussion will also integrate the use of and first. We'll talk about or later. Now, simply, just father's absenteeism in the search box of the website of your database, just impute father's absenteeism and in capital letter, and in capital letter, then self-efficacy. So what that will do is that it will streamline your results to papers that have worked on both at the same time. And in the case where your variable is a very new variable, that is has not been worked on formally, like father's absenteeism has not been worked on, or that's not true, but self-efficacy has not been worked on, you see that it will bring approximately close papers for you. It could bring parental involvement and self-efficacy. That's a publication that maybe has. So just in case your variable has not been worked on, like maybe father's absenteeism, or not true, but self-efficacy has not been worked on, what using and to couple both variables together will do is that it will bring approximately close um, publication, or publications that have worked on similar variables as father's absenteeism. For instance, parental involvement, father's role, father's presence, something like that. All right? Yeah. So you can do that for maybe the two IVs. If you're working on two IVs and a DV, you can do that for two IVs to find papers that have worked on both IVs that you are looking to work on together, papers that have worked on both IVs together in one publication. Or you can do that for one IV and your DV, and another IV and your DV, to find like diversified um, result of publications that you can use to do your review, operational definition, statement of problems, introduction, and a lot more, and eventually your discussions. Now let's look at the use of or. Now, just like we've said, there are times when your variable is the first time a person is working on that kind of variable. I mean, great, right? But in psychology, as a student of the Department of Psychology, I have learned that you do not always have to have a paper that has worked on the exact variable you're working on to use them in your review. So that is where the use of or comes in. Now, I want to work on father's absenteeism and socioeconomic status on self-efficacy among females in primary psychology. But then I'm seeing that I've put father's absenteeism and I'm not seeing publications, or I'm just seeing like maybe two, three publications. Okay, I'll now say father's absenteeism, or you now look for a similar variable. A very, very good example of this is self-esteem, self-acceptance, self-love. These are very similar variables, right? Very, very similar. So in the case, what you are telling the algorithm of your database is, if you did not see self-esteem, help me find self-love, help me find papers that have self-love, help me find papers that have self-acceptance in it. So same thing for this father's absenteeism thing. So if you see that father's absenteeism is such a hassle, like you're not getting the papers you want on it, just make use of the or command. That's look for this or this. And then there are cases when you can combine and or within a like search command. You can say father's absenteeism and socioeconomic status, or parental involvement, or father's absenteeism or parental involvement and socioeconomic status. So it will pull up results for you that have publications that have worked on both of them. Now, I forgot to mention earlier in the video that for those databases that the University of Lagos is subscribed to, that you cannot access, that they are not asking you for your institutional mail, kindly make your way down to the University of Lagos main library and go to the, it used to be MTN library, but they have changed the name. But the library to your right, to your walking right, after you leave the cloakroom, that library that is very near, that has a museum on top, go there and meet any of their officials and request politely, please, that you need the password to one of the databases that University of Lagos is subscribed to. And please go there with a particular database in your mind. Don't just say, I want to come and collect password to database. No, you know that there are certain databases that will collect your institutional mail clean. That's your personalized school email, the one with your matric number at live.unilag.edu.ng. And some may not. The ones I've used, they always take my institutional mail. So, but just in case you do not find, I mean, the one you're trying to access, the one that has the paper that you're trying to access, is not requesting for your institutional mail, is requesting for a password, a passcode, and please, you can now come and ask them, okay, for instance, I know for sure that you like to subscribe to ProQuest Central. You can now come and say, okay, please, I need password to Unilag, Unilag password to ProQuest Central. Just that. So we're slowly coming, not slowly, we're quickly coming to the end of this particular tutorial. But let me quickly add something. Um, when using databases like PubMed Central, um, there is a feature it has that is very, very helpful, which is your ability to set it. It has settings. So I believe that if you are in the University of Lagos, it means that whether you're a freshman, a sophomore, not even a penultimate, and final year, you should be able to toggle a website. So just you'd see on the website of PubMed Central, especially. I'm really particular about PubMed Central because I use it the most. ProQuest is also another wonderful database, but I'm not so conversant with it. So with PubMed Central, you can set it to give you publications that are only recent, that's within the last 5 years. Sometimes your lecturers in the Department of Lagos, in the Department of Psychology rather, would ask you to only cite papers that are within the last that were published or done within the last 5 years. So this is a very, very, very helpful setting. So when you set it like that, any search you are doing in that database, it will only be bringing papers that have your research variables but were done recently. And if you want it to look for within 15 years, there is a setting for that. Also, there's another setting that enables you to get free articles or publications.